The boss. Good morning. Lord, we give you thanks for light, the light of your Son, Jesus Christ, coming into our lives. Enlighten and illumine us that we may worship you this day in spirit and in truth. Amen. Join with me, please, in the call to worship. It's in your bulletin and it's on your screens. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
It is said that our hearts are restless.
Where do we find the wholeness and peace we seek?
We find that shalom, that healing in God. Our hearts are restless until we find our rest in God. Our hymn is Immortal, Invisible, God Only Wise, 264 if you want to look in your books. Did you want to make an announcement? Because there's a slide up there. She actually told me she wanted to make an announcement. I'm going to assume that's what it's about. Yes?
I have an update on our Tucker Smith Refugee Project for you. I attended a meeting at Egmontville last Monday night and learned the following. Although we have no official word yet, we were told by the Al-Massad family that Sonia has a boarding pass confirmed and that she will be flying out of Lebanon on July 27th, arriving in Canada on July 28th. For her first 2 weeks, we must follow whatever quarantine protocols are in place at the time of her arrival. The Tucker Smith Refugee Committee has been given permission to finish a bedroom and bathroom that has already been framed in and insulated in the basement of the Al-Massad home. The Al-Massad family are happy to welcome Sonia into their home, and it's certainly a less expensive option than finding her an apartment. Drywall, electrical, plumbing, and painting will be required. There will be work bees, and the hope is to have this completed before Sonia arrives. We are thankful to Watson's Home Hardware, who are donating the drywall, and to Mark and Bill Makins, who are donating a good used vanity top. As of Monday night, we still required a toilet, tub, vanity for the bathroom, and a queen-size mattress, a dresser, and a nightstand for the bedroom. If you're able to donate any of these, I have an email address to contact so we don't have duplication of donations. As I told you last week, we have $5,530 in our bank account, and since then, $4,395 has been donated by the other 3 churches on our committee. Clinton United so far has collected $350. So we have a way to go to catch up to the other churches. So if you haven't already made your check out to the Clinton, make it out to the Clinton United Church with Tucker Smith Refugee Project on the memo line. So far, there are 2 fundraisers planned. Please mark these dates on your calendar. Thursday, August 25th, Pine Ridge Half Chicken Barbecue Meal at Egmontville United Church from 5 to 6:30, drive-through pickup only. Tickets are $20, and I have some with me today if you would like to buy them from me after church downstairs. Also, Sunday, September 25th, Clinton United Church concert will be at 3 o'clock featuring the Harbor Airs. That,
Harmony Kings.
pardon?
Harmony Kings.
Harmony King, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Harmony Kings, that other choir, and our own Clinton United Church choir. All proceeds from these events will go to the Tucker Smith Refugee Project. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Keeping us updated. That sounds really good. So we've got an option on some music to feed the soul and some chicken for feeding the belly. This is good. Okay. Brucefield Community United Church is presenting a live nativity scene on July the 24th. So it's Christmas in July. So if you'd like to go to that, then you can. There are snacks and drinks available. It is by donation, and that's from 1 until 4 on Sunday, July 24th. That's next week. Also on the 24th, you can go out to have a brunch for breakfast, and that's at the Van Egmond House. So that's happening next week too. Boy, that's going to be a good day. Goderich Lake Town Band, we had an announcement insert in last week. There are a few more available at the back if you misplaced yours. Lets you know what the concerts all are. They're always in the Harbor Park at Goderich at 7 o'clock on Sundays. Do you remember what it is this week? Kincardine Brass Band. My mouth don't work today. Kincardine Brass Band. So so by all means pick up one of those flyers if you missed it last week and plan on attending those. I am going on vacation starting July 25th, which is next Monday, not this Monday, next Monday, and I'm on vacation until August 27th. So we have church here next week, and then the next time we have church here will be on Labor Day. Please join us after church. We have lemonade and cookies and gluten-free options downstairs, so please come down for a little bit of fellowship. Were there any other announcements that I either forgot or did not know about? Okay, so let's take a few minutes to pass the peace. Peace be with you. Hear from me again later? Yes. Oh, goody. Thank you very much, Gladys and Susan. One of our readings for today, the last one actually, is the story about Mary and Martha. And I think we all remember that one where Jesus comes with all his friends and Mary and Martha are feeding them supper. Mary ends up sitting at the feet of Jesus and Martha ends up getting mad because Mary's not helping. And I think we've all been there, at least those of us who end up eventually in the kitchen, cleaning up and getting things ready, and it's like, why aren't anybody coming to help me out with this? There's a lot of work here. I want to go in there and sit and visit too, but somebody has to get the supper. Martha, Martha, you're worried and troubled about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken from her. And that's what he's saying in Luke. And sometimes that leads us to value the sitting and listening at the feet of Jesus above the getting ready of the supper. But the same writer also wrote Acts. And this is what he says there. The problem that they have is that the people who were supposed to be teaching and preaching about Jesus were finding that they were having to spend a whole lot of their time waiting on tables, helping with the poor and the widows and basically feeding people. And this is what they came up with. They said, therefore, friends, select from among yourselves 7 men. And that passage is being used to justify not having women on the stewards. Yeah, I know. 7 men of good standing, full of the Spirit and of wisdom, whom we may appoint to this task, while we, for our part, will devote ourselves to prayer and to serving the word. So these are people of good standing, full of the Spirit and full of wisdom, that we're asking to take care of the, before we had all these committees, the older church structure was one of session and stewards. And the session were the elders who did the visiting and sometimes took the church services. And the stewards were the ones that took care of, everything else. And that's where that came from. But it's definitely saying that the people who are doing that work, the work of the stewards, the work that we would call property finance trustees, that area, are people who need to be of good standing, full of the Spirit and full of wisdom. That kind of sounds like they need to be good spiritual people too. So if anyone speaks, let it be as one who speaks God's words. If they serve, let it be from the strength that God provides, so God may be glorified through Jesus Christ in everything. That's from 1 Peter. That's saying that both aspects, both setting the table and getting the meal ready and sitting and listening and then passing on the wisdom learned, are both important, and both are able to be done because of gifts of God. A spiritual gift given to each of us so as we can help each other, because all the different gifts are needed, all the different things need to be done. Yes, we do need to feed people, but yes, we do need to be fed spiritually as well. Both are needed. It's not one or the other, but both. So we're going to sing For the Fruit of All Creation. It's 227, and the words are on the screen. Look, you. I'm reading first from the book of Amos. I'm from chapter 8, the first 12 verses. My master God showed me this vision, a bowl of fresh fruit. And he said, "What do you see, Amos?" I said, "A bowl of fresh, ripe fruit." God said, "Right. So I'm calling it quits with my people, Israel. I'm no longer acting as if everything is just fine. The royal singers will wail when it happens, my master God said so. Corpses will be strewn here, there, and everywhere. Hush. Now listen to this, you who walk all over the weak, you who treat poor people as less than nothing, who say, when's my next paycheck coming so I can go out and live it up? How long till the weekend when I can go out and have a good time? You who give little and take much and never do an honest day's work. You exploit the poor, using them, and then when they're used up, you discard them. God swears against the arrogance of Jacob. I'm keeping track of their every last sin. God's oath will shake the earth's foundations, dissolve the whole world into tears. God's oath will sweep in like a river that rises, flooding houses and lands and recedes, leaving behind a sea of mud. On Judgment Day, watch out. These are the words of God, my master. I'll turn off the sun at noon. In the middle of the day, the earth will go black. I'll turn your parties into funerals and make every song you sing a dirge. Everyone will walk around in rags with sunken eyes and bald heads. Think of the worst that could happen, your only son, say, murdered. That's a hint of Judgment Day, that and much more. Oh, yes, Judgment Day is coming. These are the words of my master God. I'll send a famine through the whole country. It won't be food or water that's lacking, but my word. People will drift from one end of the country to the other, roam to the north, wander to the east. They'll go anywhere, listen to anyone, hoping to hear God's word. But they won't hear it. Uplifting, isn't it? Oh, well, we'll look at it in a minute. Psalm 52, 777 with the refrain. Why do you boast of your evil, O brave one, in the face of God's faithfulness? Your tongue is like a sharpened razor, meant to cut deceitfully. So God will break you down forever. The righteous looking on will be awestruck. Then they will laugh and say, "Here was one who did not look to God for strength, but trusted in great wealth, and found strength in strength." I am like a thriving olive tree in God's house. I will praise you forever, for this was your doing. In the presence of the faithful, I will glorify your name, for it was good to praise you. I'm pretty sure I've got a couple more things to read. One is from the book of Colossians chapter 1. We look at the sun and see the God who cannot be seen. We look at this sun and see God's original purpose in everything created. For everything, absolutely everything, above and below, visible and invisible, rank after rank after rank of angels, everything got started in him and finds its purpose in him. He was there before any of it came into existence and holds it all together right up to this moment. And when it comes to the church, He organizes and holds it together like a head does a body. He was supreme in the beginning and leading the resurrection parade. He is supreme in the end. From beginning to end, he's there, towering far above everything and everyone. So spacious is he, so expansive, that everything of God finds its proper place in him without crowding. Not only that, but all the broken and dislocated pieces of the universe, people and things, animals and atoms, get properly fixed and fit together in vibrant harmonies. Now, this is the bit that I all because of his death, his blood that poured down from the cross. I love that beautiful vision, but then they did that. Oh, well, we'll talk about that. You yourselves are a case study of what he does. At one time, you all had your backs turned on God, thinking rebellious thoughts of him, giving him trouble every chance you got. But now, by giving himself completely at the cross, actually dying for you, Christ brought you over to God's side and put your lives together, whole and holy in his presence. You don't walk away from a gift like that. You stay grounded and steady in that bond of trust, constantly tuned in to the message, careful not to be distracted or diverted. There's no other message, just this one. Every creature under heaven gets the same message, and I, Paul, am a messenger of this message. I want you to know how glad I am that it's me sitting here in this jail and not you. There's a lot of suffering to be entered into in this world, the kind of suffering that Christ takes on. I welcome the chance to take my share in the church's part of that suffering. When I became a servant of this church, I experienced this suffering as sheer gift, God's way of helping me serve you, laying out the whole truth. This mystery has been kept in the dark for a long time, but now it's out in the open. God wanted everyone, not just Jews, to know this rich and glorious secret inside and out, regardless of their background, regardless of their religious standing. The mystery in a nutshell is just this: Christ is in you. So therefore you can look forward to sharing in God's glory. It's that simple. That is the substance of our message. We preach Christ, warning people not to add to the message. We preach in a spirit of profound common sense so we can bring each person to maturity. To be mature is to be basic. Christ, no more, no less. That's what I'm working so hard at day after day, year after year, doing my best with the energy God so generously gives to me. And reading from the Gospel according to Luke chapter 10. As they continued their travel, Jesus entered a village. A woman by the name of Martha welcomed him and made him feel quite at home. She had a sister, Mary, who sat before the Master, hanging on every word he said. But Martha was pulled away by all she had to do in the kitchen. Later she stepped in, interrupting them. "Master, don't you care that my sister has abandoned the kitchen to me? Tell her to lend me a hand." The Master said, "Martha, dear Martha, you're fussing far too much and getting yourself worked up over nothing. One thing only is essential, and Mary has chosen it. It's the main course, and it won't be taken from her." May God bless these readings to our hearing, and to his name be all the praise and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Now we're going to sing "Take Time to Be Holy." That's number 672, and the words are also on the screen. the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts and minds be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Yum. Yeah, blueberries and raspberries and strawberries, and I think there's even a few cherries in there. Oh yeah, and whatever that is over there, that's probably a wild berry. So it starts out by saying, what do you see, Amos? A basket of ripe fruit. That's good stuff. And what my version then turned around and said was, you see a basket of ripe fruit, Amos? Okay, make sure I get the right one out here. Right, so I'm calling it quits with my people Israel. What? I saw a basket of ripe fruit, so now I'm calling it quits with my people Israel. And you kind of listen to that and you go, am I missing something? Probably. First off, there's some translation things going on. One is the idea that a fresh, ripe fruit might in fact be an overripe fruit. And these people have become overripe beyond themselves, and therefore, fresh, ripe fruit, I'm done. Or it could be that the fresh, ripe fruit is a sign of a certain time, and therefore this is now the time, because this is coming in this whole series. I'm going to get them. I'm going to send locusts. I've got to get them. No, they're too little. Don't do that, God. Okay. Remember? We talked about this last week. And then it was, okay, I'm going to send a devouring fire and burn them all up. Oh, God, they're still so little. Don't do that. Okay. Then we had the plumb line. That's what we had last week. This week, we've got God saying, I'm done. I'm done with these people. I'm done with them. This is not happening. The time is ripe. It's ripe fruit. The time is ripe. I'm going to spare them no longer. This is it. I'm done. And he says why, and that's small print for you, I know, so I'll read it. You who walk all over the week, who treat poor people as less than nothing, when's my next paycheck coming so I can go out and live it up? How long till the weekend so I can go out and have a good time? You who take little, who give little, take much, never do an honest day's work, exploiting the poor, using them, and then you discard them. These do not sound like nice people, but do they sound like us? Just waiting for the weekend so we can go out? Don't worry about working. I just want to get out. I just want to get out there and have a party. It's Friday night. Time to go have a party. Darn it all, it's Sunday. We only got Sunday, and then we got to go back to work on Monday. Work isn't anything. Partying is all. Interesting. Very interesting. So when will the new moon be over so we can sell our grain, and the Sabbath so we can open the market? Because, you know, we want to have the new moon over, and we're not allowed to do that. And then we want to get ourselves right back out there to make the bushel smaller and the shekel bigger. You know what that sounds like to me? Shrinkation. That's when you go to the, it's not inflation, it's shrinkation. So when you go to the grocery store and you go, oh, good, it doesn't cost any more for bacon. And then you look and realize it's now about 1/3 of a pound instead of 1/2. Oh, goody, the chips. But they don't tell you that they're putting fewer chips in the bag. They're making the bushel smaller, and the price goes up. Yes, it's called inflation. It's called shrinkation, and we don't really like it very much. And to cheat with dishonest scales, at least we're reasonably certain that what they say is on there is on there. They're just doing things to it to make us get less for our money. These things are not good. These things are not good, especially for those who are struggling to get enough food to put on the table. If when they go, they get less, this does not work. And buying the helpless for money, buying people for money because they were so hard up that they had to sell themselves. That's the last thing that they had. To buy the needy for the price of a pair of sandals. And then we're going to sell, you're only supposed to sell the good wheat. You're not supposed to sell the stuff that fell on the ground, then sweep it up with the sawdust and stuff and sell that. And that's what he was saying the people of Israel were doing. God's people were doing this. We have quality control. Hopefully they're not doing that. And God said, I'm never going to forget these evil deeds. I'm never going to forget what they have been doing. God was really, really ticked with the people of Israel. And Amos was doing his best to try and say, but in the end, he had to come out with the message that God gave him to say. He had to call them on what it was they were up to. One piece of good news in this, at least God cares enough to send a prophet to call us on our bad behavior. The not so good news is that, sometimes we do bad things too, and we just as soon not have somebody calling us out publicly on them. And because of all these bad things, the earth will quake, and all who live in it will mourn. The whole earth will rise up like the river Nile and grow calm like the Nile in Egypt. And in the other translation, it says the water's all going to come up, and it's going to go down. There's going to be a sea of mud. Everything's going to be a mess. This is what's going to happen. And in that day, there's going to be the sun going down at noon, and I'm going to darken the earth in the clear day. Everything, it sounds like a lunar eclipse, to be quite frank. I'm going to turn your festivals into mourning, your songs into lamentation, sackcloth on everyone's loin. That's itchy, that stuff. Baldness on every head, and I'm going to make it like a time of mourning for an only son, and the end of it will be a bitter, bitter day. These are bad things that Amos is saying is going to happen. This is really not good. And the days are coming when I will send a famine on the land. And we're thinking, great, along with everything else you just said, but then he turns it. He's not talking about a famine like we might have because there's not enough wheat coming because some idiots are burning the fields and the grain elevators in Ukraine. With hungry people in the world. But we're not talking about that kind of a famine here. That's bad enough. We're talking not of bread, of thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. God is saying, I'm going to withdraw. They are not going to hear from me. They are not going to know where I am. They're going to look, they're going to go to the east, and they're going to go to the west, the north, and the south. They're going to seek, and they are not going to find God's word. He finishes with that, and this whole list of bad things, this is the worst. This is God saying, I'm not going to be there for them. I'm not going to be around. They're going to look for me. They're going to try and find me in the midst of all this rotten stuff that's going on, and I'm not going to be there because I've had it with them. They're done. And that would be honestly, that would be the very worst, to not have God there. So I put something in here from Romans, which is not something we read today. Blessed are those whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin the Lord will never count against them. That's New Testament. God was angry, so angry with what they were doing. And he says, I'm not going to be there, but after Amos comes Hosea and the other ones. The prophets keep coming. God says, I've done with them, but he doesn't. He still keeps sending his prophets over and over again until eventually we get to the New Testament and we get to things like this. Blessed are those whose transgressions are forgiven. That's what we want to hear, isn't it? We don't want to hear about, the waters coming up, and we don't want to hear about the rest of it. We want to hear that God's still there, that God is still present in our lives, that God has not actually given up on the world. But God asks that we look to seek the kingdom of God and God's righteousness, and everything else will come to us as well. God wants us to keep looking. He says those people they're going to look, they're not going to find. But that's not what God says to us in the New Testament. He says if you seek God, you will find God. And this is the God that he says we're finding, that beautiful vision of an immortal, invisible, God only wise, we sang at the beginning, that lovely vision of God as the invisible God, the Christ that comes, that holds everything together. because by him everything in heaven and earth was created, and everything is there. He's before all things, and in him all things hold together. And I love this part of the passage where it says, so spacious is he, so expansive, everything of God finds its proper place in him without crowding. That's how big our Jesus is. Everything in all creation is able to find its spot, its place, its being in Christ. But not only that, but all the broken and the dislocated pieces of the universe, the people, the things, the animals and atoms, all the things that are broken, get properly fixed and fit together in vibrant harmonies. Now, isn't that a vision? We like harmonies. We do. We do. We like harmonies. That we all can come together in what Christ can do. Christ can fix it. That's what I love. I really didn't like that next bit about the blood of the Lamb. I'm sorry. But that I find very, very hard and difficult. But the vision of Christ being the one that made everything and can fix everything and can bring everything back together again, that is a beautiful vision of connectedness, of us with each other and us with God. Not that rejection that we saw in Amos, but this vision of wholeness and harmony. That in Christ, with Christ within you, the hope of glory. That's what they say, that the message, the absolute basic part of the message is that Christ is within each of us, binding us to God and binding us to each other. We are always connected with the ones that we love through Christ. Draw near to God, and God will draw near to you. That's what it says in James. If we are willing to reach out to God, God will be there. That's the message we have from Jesus. He's willing to love us that much, willing to put everything on the line for us in order that we might be bound back together, that we might be repaired and made whole, that vision of wholeness and shalom, of justice, of peace. But it is our choice. God has said, I'll be there for you, but how close to God do you want to be? You're only as close to God as you choose to be. Not God saying, I'm done with them. God saying, I'm here whenever you want me. But we have to reach out to God. We have to be willing to reach out to make that connection. That's our part. It's on us now. How close do you choose to be with God? And Jesus says in Revelation 3:20, look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in. It goes on to say, I will come in and I will sit down and I will have a meal with you. This is the God that wants to be invited into our hearts. You do notice, of course, as you've probably been told many times, there is no doorknob. Not one. There is no doorknob on the outside of that door. It can only be opened from the inside. Only you can choose whether or not you want to open your heart and let the Savior in or not. You are only as close to God as you choose to be. You either open that door or you do not. It is your choice. But he says he's going to be there, waiting every day for you to open your door. Thanks be to God. Everything that we have comes to us as a gift from God, and we are grateful for that. And we have returned that gift through power for some of you, and some of you choose to put an envelope in. These are the ways that we return to God so that God can continue to do God's work in this world. So think about the ways that you give to God, the ways that God has given to you, while we get to have Susan and Gladys sharing their gifts with us again. Lord, we give you thanks for the many gifts that you have given to us. Grant that these gifts that we have returned to you, grant that we and they may be used to further your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let us pray. Lord, you are indeed an awesome God, but you can be terrifying. In your anger, you said you didn't want anything more to do with your people. But in the end, that wasn't where you stayed. You came back over and over again in the prophets that came after. Yes, telling your people that they were doing things they ought not to do, but you still kept coming back. That's the God that we like to see. That's the God of Jesus, the one who's willing to give everything to bring us back again. The God that reaches out to us, even when we're not looking for you. You keep loving. You keep trying. You keep being there for us every single day. That even if we forget you, you do not forget us. Your love is so large, it encompasses everyone who has ever lived or will ever live anywhere here on this earth. We don't know about elsewhere. We haven't found elsewhere yet. But we do know that there isn't a corner of this world anywhere that we can go where we will not find you. So that means that you are concerned about people in our world that we don't even necessarily know about. That you're concerned about the animals and the atoms, the people, the plants. Because, Lord, as we're starting to figure out, it's all attached in harmony. And what affects one part of creation ultimately affects everyone. There are changes in our climate, and we're starting to figure out that it's possible that we have something to do with some of them. And it's absolutely known that we can do stuff that will change what's happening, if we're willing, if we want to. Lord, we pray for the people in our world who are hungry, those that don't have enough, at the same time as war is destroying the food they need. I don't imagine that makes you very happy, does it? If it makes us sad and angry, how much more does it do you? Because you know the hungry people, and we don't. So Lord, help us to reach out and do what we can to feed the hungry, to help people get clean water. Lord, help them to settle the conflicts so that we aren't wasting what people need by war. Lord, we pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus, who taught us to pray together singing, Our final hymn is Be Thou My Vision, 642. Go forth in peace. Go forth knowing that God does go with you, that our God does walk with you each and every step of your life's journey. May the grace of Christ attend you, the love of God surround you, and the Holy Spirit keep you this day and always. Amen.